Welcome all. I'm grateful for the few who could join us for today's session. I anticipated that we shall be more since on Tuesday we are offering a free lesson. Another piece of advice, maybe I'd advise the learners online, is that the Samaritan being a compulsory book, you should understand it at length before you can anticipate ever scoring high marks on the same. As has always been our norm, we are going to discuss two different questions, both of them based on the Samaritan. At the end of it, today I want to take another different approach. At the end of it, I'll ask you to raise questions that I can prepare on and then present tomorrow, questions to do with a silent song. Otherwise, welcome to our session. I already see there's a concern. Someone has raised a concern on screen. Someone is inquiring, as you're maybe trying to wait for the others, someone is inquiring whether when you're writing an essay, do we use the present tense? I think I know where this one is coming from. The person is borrowing knowledge from the way we express, we are able to place an excerpt in its immediate context. There is a rule to do with that. But when it comes to paper 3, we are not really looking at the tense, whether it is the present tense, whether it is he said or he says. We do not really concentrate on that. We are more on how has the point been expressed and has it been expressed in a convincing manner. The participant who has asked that question, I hope I've been able to answer you. We do not take into consideration the tense used. We are more on what was said. Another thing is your language will be pegged on the marks in the body and not even the kind of English you can speak. Your marks for the language, for the grammar, it is pegged on the marks you've been able to score in the body. For the ones who have not been in our class, maybe since last Tuesday, there's much that you have done bordering on both a silent song as well as the Samaritan. And because we have done a lot, I hope some areas will not make me to be constantly repeating on what I have already said. What I'm saying, I can see it is being streamed live, therefore it is always available on YouTube. I still have seen another question. I've still seen another question. I don't know whether today I'll have to, first of all, answer the questions before I can go to what I had intended to present. Let me see. Someone is asking about the immediate context and all that. Please, let's find a session for that, and we shall deal with that when we shall cross the bridge when you get there. Otherwise, today, we cannot mix paper 2 at the same time. That was not our goal for today's lesson. You can clearly see that our lesson has been labeled essay lesson. That is what we are here to do. At your own time, I had left my number on screen. You can always find me and raise the question that is away from our discussion for today. Anyway, I was to, first of all, maybe explain the kind of route we are nowadays taking. The ones who are online yesterday, we said KCSE for a number of years, paper 3, we have been concentrating on a single character. We have tested an essay question on the compulsory book, and we have been confining ourselves to one character. And because of that, I found it wise for us to concentrate on Mossi. And even yesterday, the ones that were online, we were also able to revise a question from 2024 that had tested on Nicole. Still another concern. How do you write an essay on the character traits? For example, when one is told to state and explain the character traits of Mossi according to the Samaritan. I think I want to relate it to what is happening in reality. We don't test on character traits. We majorly test on the issues. The issues, therefore, mostly what will help you will be the themes. But then, in fact, away from the themes, away from the character traits, I want you to concentrate on understanding the story. If you're able to understand the story, no matter what direction it is twisted to fit, your argument will always be correct if you understand the book. Leave alone the character traits. In a very, very long time, we have not tested a question on the character traits. We come up with a two-sided question that after a student's interpretation, the student will be able to answer it correctly. So about the character traits, please, it is a very long time since I've seen KCSE concentrating on character traits. Any other concern? Any other concern? I give you a few minutes to raise your concerns so that when I begin, my flow of thoughts is not interrupted. But still in the middle of the discussion, if you feel there's a point that has been given, you need clarification, you need repetition, you want to add some details, you're welcome to do so. You're welcome to do so. Any other concern? Okay, the person still insists they were given such a kind of a question, and she wonders how to write the introduction and the points. At the end of my presentation, if time allows, share with me that question, because it is so hard for me to direct you when we are arguing from the abstract. Abstract meaning we don't have a question, yet I'm supposed to answer. At the end of it, I want you to share the question, and then in understanding, in interpreting the question, we'll be able to see which direction we are going to take. Otherwise, it is very hard to argue from the abstract when you do not have a question at hand. Okay, there's agreement that you can do it at the end of my session. For the ones who are joining us, we said for a number of years, we've been taking the approach, the direction of concentrating an essay, basing it on a specific character. And that will become my first question. I'll base it on Mossi. We also have another one that we based it on Mossi. I shared the write-up on WhatsApp. That was yesterday. Explain to us more about topic, sentence, and conclusions when writing the essay. Then please, can you send some essay questions related to Mayor Mossi? The one who's raising this question, we've always advised you, join the WhatsApp group. And within the WhatsApp group, imagine you've shared all of them. Within our lesson, you've always shared which one is the topic sentence, how do we build up on it, at the same time, how do we conclude every day of our lesson. We started these lessons, was it last week, maybe on Tuesday? And all the time we've shared the lessons, we've always been in a position to direct the learners on how to do the topic sentence, how to build up on it, how to even clinch their argument. For that, I meant to say, to answer all your questions, I hope that you'll stay tuned to the discussion so that you may learn a thing or two. And if you don't, you are free to ask the question. Let me focus on Mayor Mossi, the first question, and I'll say, I first of all read it, and then I share it on screen. The reason I read it first is to allow the learners to have a feel of the question. Because once I begin sharing my screen, some of them lose concentration and they're already reading parts of the essay that we have not yet got to. Therefore, they preempt the argument, and they'll still later on ask, what did you say about the introduction? We need to take it step by step. And my question on Mossi today will be, Mossi is directly to blame. Mossi is directly to blame for the corruption that goes on in Maracas municipality, since he is involved in one way or another. Mossi is to blame for the corruption that goes on in Maracas municipality, since he is involved in one way or another. Let me share the question. Let me share that question. On screen, I'm about to share the question. And then you'll tell me what is the interpretation of that question. The question is on screen at the very top of the page. Mossi is directly to blame for the corruption that goes on in Maracas, since he is involved in one way or another. You discuss basing your argument on the Samaritan. Mossi is to blame for corruption because in one way or another, he is involved. We pause at that. I usually direct my students as follows whenever you are sitting an essay question. The first 2 minutes are for you to pause and try to give an interpretation to that question. How are you able to interpret? You should underline the keywords. Mossi is directly to blame for the corruption that goes on in Maracas because he is involved in one way or another. What have my learners understood? I'll want you to chat me in the chat section. You tell me so far, what might you have understood? What direction do you think you're going to take in approaching that question? That is what I'm trying to ask. What direction are we taking in answering this question? Some people have already come to my aid. Someone is saying corruption, good. Another keyword someone says to blame, involved in one way or another. I'm almost accepting, but I have not. Involved in one way or another, you should have added something small. It makes it okay. Number one of the keywords is corruption, blame. There's another keyword we are leaving out. Corruption, blame it on who? That one becomes the other keyword. We are speaking about corruption, and the corruption should be blamed on Mossi. Therefore, what keywords did I want to see? I wanted to see Mossi is a keyword, corruption, involved in one way or another. Mossi, blamed, corruption, involved in one way or another. Those were the keywords that should decipher the question enough to put you in a position where you will easily understand. In my interpretation, I'm asking my class, in my interpretation, I want to ask, are we, will they all border on Mossi, or I'm very sorry for the ones who are listening. There was a technical hitch where I lost my audience, therefore I had to exit and re-enter the meeting. Otherwise, my question was this. As you're coming up with your points, because for a while, I've stopped to share my screen so that I don't preempt your thoughts. I want to also make we reason together. As you're reasoning together, maybe let me hear from you. Are we touching on the other leaders when it comes to corruption, or is it entirely on Mossi? I want to get your reaction. Are we touching on the other leaders, or are we speaking about Mossi entirely? 2 reactions, and then I can pick up the argument and continue. Someone says, okay, someone says, I think, I can't really figure out, I think, as in I think we touch on the other leaders, or do you think we touch on Mossi? Someone says, only Mossi, I think so. Thank you for your reaction. Thank you for your reactions. Another reaction, and then after that, allow me to put it in perspective. Someone says, Mayor Mossi only. Only Mossi, I think so. Mossi. Good. I really appreciate your feedback. After your feedback, there's something else I want to go back and bring your... I'll share my screen. And if you're coming late, please don't make demands because the meeting started at 3. At 3:20, I'll share, sometime later, I'll share the screen. But when you come late for a class, that is your own undoing. Please, let's share at let me share at my convenience. People say we are entirely on Mossi. Another person says, yes, even the other leaders, but we direct to Mossi. I now want to take a stand. I'm happy when my students are also given a chance to react because I get to pick their thoughts. I get to see what are they thinking. And most of you, if the people who have answered are a representation of the rest of you, most of you had felt we focus on Mossi entirely. But one person said, we speak about the other leaders, but we connect it to Mossi. I'm with that one person who said, we touch on the other leaders, but we focus on Mossi. What tells? How do we know? The question will always direct us. They're saying, look, Mossi is directly to blame. In other words, any point that you will give, you must link it to Mossi. Mossi is directly to blame for the corruption that goes on in Maracas, since he is involved in one way or another. So the person who told us that, you take the route of Mossi, you take the route of other leaders that are engaging in corruption, but always ensure you are linking it with Mossi. Before I can share my screen, as some people have requested, I also want to go ahead and say, let the question be your guide. Mossi is to blame. He is involved in one way or another. That one interprets to mean corruption goes on because of Mossi, even when he is not the perpetrator. That is the interpretation of the question. Even when he is the one, even if he's the one who is not behind the corruption, but then there should be a link to Mossi. You can remember Nicole telling him, the back stops with you. Why can't you call them to account? Back to another reaction on the screen. Someone says, Mwalimu, I think, focus on Mossi because in question, the refer is linked on Mossi's corruption. Maybe kindly correct if I'm wrong. Let me correct you on the spot. I want us to also listen, and then once I'm done with that, we can react. The same thing I've just been explaining. I said that Mossi is to blame for corruption. In one way or another, he is involved. We did not say he's the perpetrator. He is involved. Word for word interpretation, try and understand the question in one way or another. Because if I could ask you, maybe, if I could also try to engage the people who feel so. And a different opinion does not mean you're wrong. But when we are not on the same board, I'll try to bring you on board to be where I am. If we could go to Mossi's corruption, it is also possible. But then my question, the determining factor goes back to, he is involved in one way or another. That question was trying to tell you, he is involved either as the perpetrator or he is the one aiding them. That should be the interpretation of the question. Therefore, the one who said they really feel strongly, it should have been Mossi entirely. I correct you on the spot and I tell you, we are looking at Mossi being the one who aids the corruption. And could I maybe explain my view of it? We are looking at the words of Madam Nicole. If maybe you might have been in yesterday's class. Madam Nicole kept putting Mossi on the spot, asking him, you have knowledge of all that information. Why can't you allow the Samaritan to expose these people? Number 3, Nicole kept asking him, why won't you allow them to face prosecution? With all this backing of the book, we are therefore justified to look at it from this angle. Mossi is directly to blame because the buck stops with him. Even when he is not the perpetrator, he is involved in one way. One way meaning he might be the perpetrator. Another means he might not have done it himself, but then there is a way he is aiding the perpetrators of corruption. Now I'm ready to keep quiet for a while and also still welcome your feelings. I've tried to explain my stand, and then after that, I want to welcome your feelings. It's like someone telling you the corruption in Maracas municipality has the blessing of Mayor Mossi. That is the other angle we are looking at that question. It is just a matter. It is just a matter of semantics, meaning. What meaning was implied is what you are calling semantics. Changing the wording, but then we are on the same argument. Okay. Any reaction? Otherwise, I move to share my screen. Someone had requested, could you share the screen so that you also get a chance to view what the question was about? So I'm leaving my screen on. And while at it, I also want you to look at the introductions. I've left my screen open. While at it, I want you to pick at the introductions. And I keep reminding people, introduction is the student's own words in interpreting the question. In your own words, what can you tell us the essay is about? When you're telling us what the essay is about, are you going to use the contextualized one? Are you going to use the paraphrased one? Are you going to use the general one? But generally, the people who are saying it is only focusing on Mossi, your introduction could have told me whether you hit the mark or you missed. Let's go to the contextualized. And we are saying, there is rampant corruption in Maracas municipality. And we have Mayor Mossi to thank for this because he engages in it. He's involved in one way, so he engages in it and also aids his juniors in committing it without calling them to account. He's allowing the juniors to engage in corruption. He does not call them to account. Therefore, in one way or another, he allows corruption to go on. That was my contextualized introduction. Let's go to the paraphrase. The corruption in the municipality is clearly as a result of Mossi being at the helm. Mossi is the one at the top, therefore, he is allowing corruption to continue. Paraphrased, I just played around with the words, and the general. When a country experiences rampant corruption, the blame will always land on its ruler. This is because a leader is chosen to ensure that all goes well. Hence, when things fail to work out, the leader should be called to account, even in matters to do with corruption. The same can be concluded of Mossi, as will be discussed below. Still a minute to see. The country is involved in rampant corruption, and we tie it to Mossi. I was trying to make a conscious link to Mossi. The blame will always land on its ruler, even if he's not the one. Maybe let me be political a bit as I stop sharing my screen. A lot of people are engaging in corrupt acts in Kenya. Some departments even to do with the medical field. But even when the national SHA has failed, we still go back and blame the leader, even when the leader does not work in SHA. That is the kind of understanding of the question that I wanted to bring to your focus. And I still give it 1 minute, the chat section, to check whether we are on board. If you're not on board, I cannot go ahead and discuss the points. Therefore, I usually give it a minute for reaction. Otherwise, I move on. Okay, I've seen someone.
Can I speak kindly?
Go ahead.
Okay, my name is Michael, and I'm speaking from Kitale. I think basing on the keywords in the sentence, in the question specifically wants us to address corruption basing on Mossi. So I think when writing our topic sentences in our body paragraphs, we are going to squarely write those topic sentences basing on Mossi at first. But the key thing in that question is that it's addressing corruption. So Mossi, as the overall key leader of Maracas municipality, carries the burden of corruption because he is the person who has been instilled in that seat in Maracas municipality to make sure that the other junior leaders are being accountable with the resources that belongs to the people of Maracas municipality. So that question wants us to, even though we can based on some few leaders, but at the end of the day, the larger package is going to lie with Mayor Mossi, simply because he's the overall leader who is supposed to ensure that there's accountability in all of these municipal departments. For instance, if we talk about the Department of Health, Department of Planning and Infrastructure, and all those. So yes, we are going to talk specifically on Mossi in relation to him being a leader and failing to curb corruption.
Are you done, Michael?
By all these other leaders.
Okay, Michael, are you done?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michael. In fact, Michael, you and I are agreeing. We are not using the same word, but we are taking the same approach. As Michael was speaking, I was listening. And Mossi says, the topic sentence will always be leading back to Mossi. The same thing I've said using different words. I say, whatever corruption we portray, it will always be linked back to Mossi. That is what I was trying to tell my students. Thank you for that. Whatever act of corruption, be it in the Department of Planning, be it in the Department of this other, it will still, the back will stop at the buck will stop with Mossi because he is the overall leader, and also he has been unable to call them to account. Thank you so much, Michael. We are on the same page, just not using the same words. The beauty of literature is that as you're explaining yourself, I'm like, this person is even helping me to come up with my point. Thank you so much. Let me go to another, maybe any other reaction. Now we are getting involved, not only the teacher speaking, but it is becoming engaging, which is very okay. I think I saw something in the chat section. Someone requesting I share the screen again. Can you use two introductions at the same time, e.g. the integrated introduction and the one that uses the contextualized and the general one? My answer is yes, you can use all of them. But then my problem will be, why the waste of time? You are focusing so much on the introduction. Even by the time you have used one type of introduction, you have already scored two. When you get to another type of introduction, you'll not get any extra marks. Therefore, why concentrate all your energy on the introduction, yet any type of introduction will already be enough? That is my answer to that question. Now, as you are looking at, before I can share my screen, I've still been asked to share the screen. As you are looking at the points that will answer to this, we are consciously trying to tie our answers to Mossi. At the end of it, Mossi is the one who, in a way, is blessing this corruption. And blessing, what does it mean? How do I link it to Mossi? There's someone who has shared something else. Let me see. There's someone who has shared something else. Let me see. A minute, please. Justify character of Mossi in the text. The Samaritan, a person who is unshakable. Okay, what are these? Please, the one who has shared the screen. Please educate me a bit. Okay, go ahead.
Could I speak?
Go
It's
ahead.
the question that you have told me to share so that you can look at it. The one which I've told you to.
Oh, for later. Oh,
yeah.
okay. I was a bit confused over there. I was a bit confused over there. I wondered, what is this? Okay. Gloria, thank you. I will answer it. Don't worry. I don't know how to. Could you please get rid of it? I'll want you to give it to me. Maybe, yeah, thank you. Thank you for doing that for me. Okay, back to the class. And Gloria, to my personal number, I'll share the end. If I don't, remind me to share. I want you to give me that question. Now that we are consciously tying every point to Mossi, I was trying, first of all, to establish the meaning of he is involved in one way or another. And someone helped me, maybe in their own words. My words might be limited. And then someone else picks it using their own words, even making it better for me. So how is Mossi involved directly or indirectly? We are looking indirectly. Let's first of all focus on indirectly. Indirectly meaning he is privy to this information, but what does he do with the information? If we look at an instance like Simo, Mossi goes ahead to tell teacher Nicole he is a drug dealer and all that. Those are acts of corruption. He is asking people to part with dollars to approve their buildings. And then Mossi, instead of putting him on the spot, calling him to account, Mossi goes ahead and says, God forbid if an earthquake were to occur. Another thing that Mossi says, want to link it, this corruption is aided by Mossi. Why doesn't he call Simo to account? Why are you selling people? Why are you taking money to approve substandard buildings? All he does is behave in a resigned manner. Resigned meaning, now this one, I leave him to God. Yet he is the overall leader. He is supposed to call Simo to account. Another thing that shows that Mossi aids this corruption. There's a point that he is even asking Nicole, shh, could you tone it down? Let's speak in whispers. Haven't you heard how dangerous this guy is? He is associated with the black swan that is making people to disappear. So Mossi keeping quiet about it, Mossi refusing this to call these people to account, number two, Mossi not ready to allow these people to face prosecution. There are all ways we can link him to these corrupt individuals. That was when I'm talking about it indirectly. What about directly? Mossi is directly to blame for the corruption that goes on in Maracas. He is involved in one way or another. When you're talking about Mossi is involved, in fact, that one should make up for our first point. We look at Mossi as a corrupt individual. And because he is a corrupt individual, what does he do that is corrupt, therefore aiding corruption in Maracas municipality? That is the way he is involved in one way, directly, or in another way, indirectly, by allowing these people to carry out their acts. Someone will ask me, teacher, is Mossi aware? My answer will be, Mossi is very much aware. That is why he called all these people to that initial meeting. And he called them because he knows when the Samaritan will begin to expose these people, the people likely to be touched are Jaden, Bembe, so and so. What does that tell you? Mossi is aware he is complicit in their corruption. He did not invite any random person on the table. He invited them because he knew they were all party to some corrupt deal. And when he does nothing about it, he is the one who is aiding corruption. So your point cannot score, like someone was trying to tell me. Your point will not score if within your argument you have not linked it to Mossi. If within your argument you have not linked it to Mossi, you cannot score. As you're thinking about maybe a question to ask before we continue, I'll go back to share my document. For the sake, I don't know, someone wanted to see something. I don't know the introduction. Someone asked me to share a screen. I'll share it for 1 minute. I'll share it for 1 minute and then I can continue. Thank you. My 1 minute is up. A question on my screen. And could I request my learners? We have uploaded all our previous lessons on YouTube. Could you make reference to there? Because all these questions, the same ones you've already answered. A question on, and I'm not saying that it is stupid to ask. Please no. I'm just trying to tell you we have constantly discussed the same questions in our previous discussions. Now the question is it true that writing an introduction that is more than 4 lines, I'll get penalized? The answer is no. We do not judge you on the basis of how long is one point, how long is your introduction. We judge the writing generally when it is done. We judge your writing, that essay, in totality. We don't count, you have seen one of my introductions. It is typed into 1 line. If maybe someone was writing it using a pen, the most it might have gone to might be 2 lines. We don't look at the length of the introduction. We don't look at the length of the introduction. but instead we look at the student successfully being able to interpret the needs of the question. Another question. On which site on YouTube have these discussions been uploaded? The site is called, let me write it over here for later, Beautiful Literature by Teacher Martha. Beautiful Literature by Teacher Martha. Just access it on YouTube. You'll find all our discussions since last week on Tuesday, suppose. To the first point, and you make sure that I always link it to Mossi. If I by any chance forget, always keep asking how is it linked to Mossi. Number one, I'll identify Mossi himself as being corrupt, therefore he is aiding corruption. Someone is saying the paragraphs, they look short. If you could take 835 words, and I know you're not out to offend me, you're asking a question that is really burning, don't worry. Someone says the paragraphs, they look short, and I'll take you back to our WhatsApp group because I usually send in the documents. And each document I have sent, please tell me which one has less than 700 words. And what is the person who says still, could you tell the others, in an essay question, how many words are we supposed to confine ourselves to? Tunahitaji words ngapi? How many words do we need? We need 450 words. Even the one that someone maybe when I'm sharing, 450, 400. In a typed work, 400 words is 1 page typed. And even without the teacher manipulating this document, the document, when it gets to you, it tells you exactly the number of words. The number of words, the one that I'm sharing right now on screen, that you might be tempted to think they are not lengthy enough, it is a total of 835 words. Just imagine. And another thing, the paragraph length doesn't matter as much. You might have a long paragraph that you're simply narrating. I'm with Coco on this one. You might have a paragraph that you're simply narrating. And another thing, when you're coming up with this paragraph, that is why we were underlining the keywords. Are we able to pick out the right illustrations? Because you cannot give me the whole book just narrating right, left, and center. You'll have to confine yourself to the details that point on the keywords. Is corruption proven? Yes. Have you linked it to Mossi? Yes. And then you tie it with the clincher, talking about, because Mossi did this, we now see so and so was enabled to continue their corruption. I hope I've been clear. I hope I've been clear. Will, another question. Will 400 words get penalized? 400 words. In fact, let me just tell you, no one has the time to count your words 1, 2, 3. There's a way I can tell your words are beyond, and also there's some beyond that you excuse. Some beyond that you excuse. Like there's someone who asked me, what is the length supposed to be, the prescribed length? And I was telling you, be writing the 2.5 pages of your foolscap. KCSE, the 2.5 pages, because the KCSE booklet is the lines are a bit spaced out more. Make it, in KCSE, make it the 3 pages. We shall never penalize. We don't count your word for word. And another thing we consider, some people have big font. Their handwriting is quite large. We do not judge such people on the same parameters like that person who is squeezing their work as well as writing very tiny. There's a way we are going to do it. Another question on the same. 450, in about 450 words. Kwani 400 is not about 450. But at the end of it, am I marking your number of words really, or am I marking the argument? The argument carries more weight. The first thing I'll tell you. Number two, what I'll tell you is, even if you write a lot, the only risk you run is losing the 2 marks for exceeding length. The one who writes beneath, do we penalize? No. Mwenye anaandika kidogo, do we penalize them? No. Why? The person has already penalized themselves. By the time you're writing very shallow, I'm very sure you missed the mark. By the time you're writing shallow, you have already missed the mark. So the one who writes very little, that one has already penalized themselves. The one who writes exceedingly, you'd rather do that and only lose the stipulations for the length, but don't lose the mark. Okay, someone asking. Since we are on number of words, in composition, you usually write 2 pages, but I heard from somewhere that we should get used to 1.5, because in KCSE, they give us limited space. Rumors. These are rumors. I'll confidently tell you that. That KCSE booklet, after you're done with your 3 questions, imagine the booklet is still having enough space. I'm yet to encounter a student. I hope I've not said it in bad faith. I hope my tone came out okay. But those ones are rumors. Okay, maybe let me tone down my voice a bit and then tell you those ones are rumors. I hope I've done it better now. Rumors in that, in paper 3, every question, the length is the same. There's no length for the composition, length for the compulsory book, length for the optional book. Please, no. We still confine ourselves to the between with about 400 words, about 450 words. And in our interpretation, we don't even count the words. We go back to, are you exceeding 3 pages of that KCSE booklet? If you do, I'll come for your -2. I will judge, even if it is a composition, I judge your composition. After judging your composition as a 10, I still go with your 2 marks because you exceeded the length. But that one of telling people, in KCSE, there's not enough space. That is a lie. I even didn't want to use harsh words. That is someone I'm sure has never interacted with the marking of KCSE. Let me see. There's someone who says, okay, this one nimeinua mkono because I thought, are you talking about you want to speak or are you talking about you've surrendered? So some of it gets me confused, but I hope I've been able to answer. Did I
Yeah,
get
but
back? Yes, go ahead. Go ahead, the one who has raised the hand.
you're saying that, okay, your
Yes.
stuff, yeah, rumors, it might be true because we were told by a teacher in our school, and he's an examiner. He was like telling us that we should get comfortable to writing and a
Sorry,
half, like
you should get comfortable to writing.
compositions that are like 1.5 pages. You
Not
see.
1.5. I'm sure a teacher said not 1.5, but 1.5 is okay. We shall not penalize you. And also that you're saying your teacher is as an examiner of paper 3, I suppose. Please answer.
Pardon?
Your teacher is an examiner of paper 3. Are you saying that? I'm
Yeah, he is.
confirming my answer. Okay. The same, I'm also an examiner of paper 3. I'm also an examiner of paper 3. And I've marked since 2018. I've never missed any year of marking. If maybe you might have had doubts on how good is the teacher who is teaching the online lesson. I also marked paper 3. Even last year I marked. Continue.
See, last year, I had also from our friends who had like Unyamaza last year, they were saying that, for example, we had some issues because the booklet came and it was sijui haikuwa na spaces za kutosha, like we've never done KCSE, so we don't know how like vile inakaa.
I know good. I know maybe you just want to do what? For someone to reassure you that you'll be okay. If that booklet was not enough, there must have been a problem. Maybe with the booklets that came to the school, because I've never seen someone who has written the booklet up to the end. I wish you could just trust me on this. You can still raise a concern. I'm not done. Or I'm not telling you not to speak.
It's okay, it's okay. I was just confirming because at mimi it sounded unbelievable. Like I just
Okay, I hope now that your teacher said this, Teacher Rispa online said that, I want you to confirm from a third teacher. That can be the saving grace. Because so far it looks like it is
Okay.
my word against theirs. So you can confirm from another senior. Will that one be okay?
Yeah,
Okay,
it's
Coco.
okay.
Okay. Now we are looking at Mossi and him being a perpetrator of the corruption. And because this is a story you have heard very many times, I can simply tell you, how is Mossi enhancing corruption himself? Mossi, we are being told, he admits to being corrupt. In what way? He says that out of a loaf of bread, he eats at least, at most, 3 slices because bread of the people comes through him. We still want to write further. Further exemplify, further enhance the fact that, to build on our point, to make our point very strong. We're also looking at Mossi. Apart from eating the 3 slices, what else does he do that points him out as corruption? If this our father is corrupt, how will the children not be corrupt? Still on Mossi, I'll say about Mossi, we also see that he uses public funds to buy all the newspapers from the vendors to deny the citizens a chance to learn about the corruption that is being propagated, that is being enhanced by the municipal leaders. Just the use of the public funds to procure, it brings out Mossi as corrupt. Another way we are looking at Mossi as corrupt, any illustrations you can remember, that Mossi is the one who engages in corruption. The slice of bread, use of public funds to purchase the newspapers. Another one is he tries to do what? To corrupt Nicole. Imagine all this has been centered in one paragraph. He tries to corrupt Nicole and we just don't give sweeping statements. Go ahead and tell us. How does he try to corrupt Nicole? He goes to her telling her to filter the information. And she needs to name her price, however much it might be. That one still portrays Mossi as a corrupt leader. At the end of it, I'll tie my argument and say, you know, the clincher. The clincher tries to tell you that we are on the right track whenever we are giving a point. I'll share my screen in a few. I want you to look at point number 1. How have I transitioned from the beginning of it until I tie the argument? That is what I want to do. I want to share the same screen that I've been sharing. In a while, I stop sharing. That is what I want to go to. Look at paragraph 1 to begin with. We talk about Mossi. Bread of the people comes through him. The person is telling you, I can't be handling your money and I don't pay myself a bit. That one is already corruption. And it is in his own admission, he says that he's corrupt. What other acts of corruption? Municipal capture. Another one, buying all the newspapers. Tries to corrupt Nicole. And another one, maybe I've not put it in my argument. I want you to just take your time until where the point ends. When a leader openly participates in acts of corruption, I wish you could put your mic off, please. Wish you could put the mic off. I want you to check until the end. When a leader openly participates in acts of corruption, he is a great enhancement to corruption. Therefore, what are we saying? In a way or another, Mossi is to blame for that corruption. Let me add a point. It has just come to mind. Still on Mossi being corrupt, he wanted to compromise the Samaritan. How? He wanted to become the investor. He talked about money. The students need money. Why are you looking for investors far when I myself, I can inject the necessary capital? The money needed, I can give you the money. That one was an attempt to compromise the Samaritan. All these acts of corruption. And you're able to give the right illustrations to your claim. At the end of it, you tie your argument with reference, referring back to the question. You score fully. That one is a full point on its own. And don't forget one more thing. One more thing, please. I've just remembered there was an issue about maybe the paragraphs might be short. I want, when I share this writing in our WhatsApp group, we know that we're in the WhatsApp group of the Focus Holiday Tuition. I know you people are computer savvy, tech savvy, therefore, you can simply even pick the argument, uchukue the points only, get rid of the other types of introductions and still check whether your essay will be around the 450, around the 400. If you go slightly like that, you'll see whether it meets the length stipulations. Allow me to go to another point because it is, okay. Anyone has a concern? Anyone with a concern? In the buying of the newspapers, does Ramdai buy all the newspapers? It is Harvester who is sent by the order of Mossi to buy the newspapers. It is Ramdai sent by the order of Mossi to procure the newspapers.
Cha,
Yes.
you see, in that point of buying the newspapers, in the morning we had an argument that they were told, you see, there are the papers that are being stated, the Caribbean and the other one. Sasa
Caribbean Watch.
walikuwa wanasema ni hizo,
Yes.
si papers zote in the city, like such that the public cannot get the newspapers. So
Okay.
I was wondering whether it is all the newspapers from the company ama ni hizo papers zenye alikuwa amedirectiwa kununua.
Okay, that one. Gloria, I always see you in my lessons every day. So for that reason, would you allow me that I go and repeat my reading and then bring a better, because right now, if I'm stopping, I'll have to flip through the pages. And so we hold on that point a bit, as we have always done. If there is an area that we disagree, we come up with the answer sometime later. Is it okay? I think it is. I've seen your reaction over there. Let's go. For the rest of us, we're asking, is it all the papers, or are they maybe the representation of a certain paper? Like today I've bought Standard newspaper, I've bought Nation newspaper. But another question still I beg to also ask, and maybe that one I don't want an answer right now. I also want to refer a question to you. Is it that when he buys the newspaper using public funds, whether he bought all of them or maybe a sample, is it still not corruption if the person is using public funds to procure? And Aswan, I don't know which side you're supporting, Gloria's side, the teacher's side. Your chat is a bit not detailed. You can speak, Aswan. If you're not comfortable speaking, you can chat. Okay, Gloria, in literature, even the teacher can be wrong. In this way, we are not arguing based on the teacher's argument. We are basing our argument on John Lara's. So if John Lara will tell me that I'm not correct, I'll come back and do what? And I'll come back and give that answer. Hope Gloria have given me the permission that I can come back to it come tomorrow. Then you move on. Go ahead.
So notice that
Sorry,
you compare.
be clear. Be clear, please.
The three slides of the
I'm waiting.
nine
I
news.
can hear you. Sorry?
I noticed that the three slices of bread
I'm sorry. Let me stop you there. Please.
vendors.
You are breaking. I don't know. There's a lot of wind in your background. You are breaking. Imagine.
So I was asking.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that you compared the pieces of bread, the buying of newspapers from and bribing Nicole, all of it in one paragraph, right?
Mm-hmm.
For example, saying
Yes, that is true.
as an examination,
Mm-hmm.
I used
Mm-hmm.
that okay.
Coco, I'm very sorry. I can barely hear what you're saying, but in general, I've gathered. Teacher, you have taken the point of Mossi and his various acts of corruption, and you have put them in different paragraphs. That is what you have basically said. Why I think your concern is, why wouldn't I base my entire argument on Mossi being, number one, procuring the newspapers, number two, eating a slice of bread, number three, that one goes back to the interpretation of the question. In the interpretation of the question, you said, Mossi himself engages in corruption, and also he allows the people under him to engage in corruption. And I think maybe at that point, maybe I was not understood clearly. It is only one point that will focus on Mossi, and the other points will be looking at who else in the municipality. You're talking about corruption in the municipality. And corruption in the municipality, is it only being enhanced by Mossi? Is he the only one who is engaging in corruption? If you understand the book very well, you'll tell me the municipal leaders are all engaging in corruption. But then, why do we point a finger at Mossi? Yes.
Sorry for interrupting. I'm stepping out into a noisy place. I want to make you a host because I realize at some point you're not even a co-host, so I'm sure you're struggling with sharing.
Okay.
I want to make you a host. And because I don't want to interrupt the class later, I want to Charlene, your video is on, your mic is on like throughout, and it is not funny. Turn the video off and please do not put your mic on again. We don't take it kindly because it is very, very disrupting. And so, yeah, Charlene, I hope you know how to do that. In a shortly, I find already you are back. So, Madam Rispa, I want to make you a host so that once you're done with the class, you're free to just end it for all because where I'm going will be a bit noisy. And so let me just take one remark before I go, that tomorrow we begin our week 2, and I want to appreciate those who've been with us. And like we told you, I've seen somebody asking where the recording is done. It's on the YouTube channel, Beautiful Literature. I think we'll share the links in the WhatsApp group. Nimeona watu wengi wamejoin. We'll share the essays there. We'll also share the links there so that for those of you who want to follow up, you can follow up. But from tomorrow, we will use a different link. We'll use a different link, not the one we've been using. I want to alert you on that. And so because I had given you that whole week so that those who are able to pay, those who are not able to pay, you can join and all that. So I really wanted that week to be totally open, but from tomorrow will only strictly for those who will pay. Hata kama mtakuwa wawili, I have no problem. We'll only have strictly the ones who are paying 200. I already have when you are melipa, so those who will not have paid by tomorrow during the 3 o'clock, unfortunately, you will not get the new link. When you come into this link, you will not find us here. I thought it's important for me to communicate. One more thing, Madam Rispa, I am hoping that as we go into week 2, now they can start writing their own essays and send to us so that we can mark for them and give them feedback.
It's okay.
See, that is possible. We can do that this week.
We can.
Yeah, I want to believe the whole week we have learned now by all those sessions, 6 lessons. By now, you should be able to write a nice, complete essay. So from starting tomorrow, we'll start doing essays. And that's why I strictly want for the ones who have paid, because now part of the payments you're doing is having the marking done and having be given personal feedback, personal marking, and mwalimu akupigia simu akueleze. Now that one you've got to pay. And so the charge is the same, 300. So next week we'll engage a little bit, this coming week we'll engage a little bit more deeply so that we go at individual levels. That's why we would want to reduce the class a bit. So for those who are not comfortable with the paying, it's okay, we are happy through the week. And those ones will not allow them to the public, the ones that we are recording from tomorrow, but these ones are open to the public. So, but from tomorrow, you're most welcome, invite your friends, but please know that the link will be different. So I think that's all. I want to exit so that I'm able to take care of
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a
Yes.
sorry to interrupt.
Okay, it's okay, go.
So for this week,
Yeah.
which essays are we tackling so that I can know if my interest will be addressed? So I pay
Yeah.
for this week because for this last week, I'm very happy. Madam
Yeah.
Rispa is doing such a wonderful job and she's so patient with us. So like
Yeah.
this week, I would like to know what are we, the essays being tackled. Juu kuna time ulisema parliament, itafanywa
Yes.
na mi sifanyi parliament. And also my other weak area is imaginative. So ndo nisijipate nimehang nikingoja sana. So like ndo mtu ajue where they fit in.
Yeah, thank you. And maybe when you're still at it, can we at this point have people who are doing parliament in this meeting raise up their hands? If you're doing parliament, let's just do a small poll, very quickly. How many are doing parliament? Let me see the show of hands. I hope you know where you raise your hand, or you can write me, andika hapo kwa chat me, or you raise your hand, so that because you've been doing silent song.
The hand raising is better. The hand raising is better. You are able to get the feedback very quickly.
Andika to me, kama unafanya parliament, kama when you are silent song, because I think the larger population was silent song, what were parliament on the side. I think we can do that. I think we can that if you're not very many, so that we just pay attention to the silent song, because I would want us from this week we'll be doing 2 stories per meeting. 2 stories per meeting. So I'm sure by the time tunamalizana na hizi classes, we will have covered the entire silent song. So let's see, Madam Rispa, are you able to see how many are saying me?
I'm looking at 3.
1, 2,
Parliament
3, 4.
3.
There are 4. 1.
There's
there
a
are
4th
4.
one. Okay.
Victoria, Triple, and Jeff. Those are 4. Okay. Now the 4 of you, I put the 4 of you muni chat on the side. But let me ask, the 4 of you, would you find your way of reading because we always given the stories before time, would you find a way of reading the silent song, the stories before we do the sessions? And I'm sorry, I'm outdoors, that's why there's so much background noise. Are you able to read the stories on your own so that easy as parliament zikuwe like a bonus, so that you're able to attend the classes, read the stories on your own? By the time the teacher is handling it, you've already read the story so that you don't hang. But the ones for the parliament, will do them like a bonus class. That one will do it on the side so that we are able to pay attention to the others. I don't know. I was thinking those who do both well and good. Oh, so those are 5 people. We already have 5 people. Madam Rispa, what are your thoughts?
My thoughts are this. We've always had our students direct us on their area of interest. In fact, you're the people who told us today do a single character, and we, true to the word, we were able to do it. Another thing, the other time they're also telling me which stories were they finding challenging. So I went and prepared on the stories. We always have you people to guide us. But tomorrow we had already said we are doing silent song.
Yes.
The story that you want done, it is up to you to decide. That is the approach we usually are taking. And also another question that someone asked, they know whether they'll be interested in next week. We usually do this. We mix silent song because majority of the population are usually silent song, and all of us are doing Samaritan. So we always try to mix the two. That is always what we have been doing.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that we continue with the silent song because the majority of silent song. But for the parliament, even if it's setting aside some time for them over the weekend, I think we may do that. The parliament, I think, wacha to create a session for you. Lakini I know mukingia silent song hamta hang, because you can read one story, the story that is being handled for that day, because unajua tuna mix na parliament, na Samaritan. So the day we are doing the silent song, una make sure umesoma your story, but for the parliament tutawa handle on their own. I promise before we are done with this, I will get you like 2 or 3 sessions specifically for the parliament without disadvantaging the others. Yeah, so kindly, I think with that, yes, we can do that. We can do the parliament on its own, so that peer to pay personal attention, because now the book feels like it's a bit heavier. When you have a class of 5, there is a way you can be able to pay more attention to the 5, yeah, and mark their S's and give them feedback and so on. So I think this week we'll also do imaginative at some point. I don't know which day, madam, you can plan and let us know from tomorrow utatuambia. You can make a schedule for us, by the way. We'll also do imaginative in the course of the week. We'll mark essays. We will also do the Samaritan and the silent song. But parliament, tutulie tu kidogo. Next week, we will find time for you. That one is a promise I make for you. Sawa sawa. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Someone is asking still, what about an artist? And it is one person. You're not saying it is you are less important. It is just that if I have to do this artist of the floating world, that will mean for that particular lesson, 2 hours, it will be me and you. Unless now we schedule some private lesson with me.
Wacha hiyo mwende private. Hiyo wacha mwende.
Or you can even still get it online. I've done it online, explaining. The floating world, I've done it online. You just find Teacher Rispa, you'll find it has been discussed online.
And then he or she can contact you for further personal guidance. Because artist of the floating world, hakuna hiyo hata mimi mwenyewe sijamaliza kuisoma.
Even in the marking, last year I marked only one school of all the scripts that passed through my table. And imagine I marked 737 scripts. Only one school, meaning like 15 people are the ones that had attempted silent. I'm not saying it is bad. Whichever your teacher has prepared you for is okay. You're the one who knows what direction to approach it from. Find the teacher, get guidance online, ask where possible. You'll be okay.
All right. Any other question?
They're telling me to choose the stories for them. Yet I'm waiting for them to guide me, even by sharing questions. I want them to share the question so that I'll be able to answer.
Yes. If you have a question that you really want us to do, by the way, you're free to do that. You can share it here on the WhatsApp group. I know that WhatsApp group has got many things going on because we are also managing our other classes for all the subjects on there. And you're welcome, by the way. It's a charge of 900 for the 2 weeks. Yeah, there's a lot of activities going on there, but where ka tu hapo, utasaidikia tu hapo. Because we also post assignments for the other subjects hapo. We post notes there. Where ka tu hapo. We didn't want to have a special group for the essay writing. Where ka tu hapo, you are in the right place. So we'll also be posting. If you have a question you'd want us to handle, you also have our numbers. You have my number. You have Madam Rispa's number. We can share. But even here on this wall, when the class is going on, by the time tunamaliza, If you have a question, maybe you're given as an assignment, you're not even very sure how to go about it. You're given as the holiday assignment, you are looking at it, you're wondering what to do. This is the time. We have all the time to do paper 3. And I'm so sure by the time we are done with these sessions, your paper 3 will never be the same. Now, I'm sounding like a preacher. Your life will never be the same again as far as paper 3 is concerned. You cannot sit under this help for a whole week, for 2 weeks, alafu bado una struggle na paper 3. Na unaona she's so gracious to even give us the copies. You can even print them. Enda tu kwa cyber, you print them, carry them to school with you. Enda ukizisoma, ukiziangalia. Trust me, you will find help for yourself as far as this paper is concerned. All right. So I think, Madam, if they give us stories, well and good, but I don't know why I feel like, because we will end up covering almost all of them, by the way. We'll cover almost all of them. By the time we are done, to cover almost all of them. So feel free to give us the questions yourself. If they have questions, we'll appreciate, but feel free, guide us, because by the time tunamalizana, tutakuwa tumecover all the stories. Me, I'm looking forward to that, because I also need it. Unajua wewe ndiye my mentor, so I need to keep hearing from you, and that's why I'm recording, so that nakaa chini na kusikiza, and I also can learn along the way. Yeah, so I think that's it. I know we have yes, we will do that. The assignments, yeah, she will guide us. From tomorrow, she will guide us about the assignments. When we submit the essays, and she'll be marking, and she'll be giving us feedback. I'll also be helping with the marking, but she's an examiner, so she can mark those scripts very fast. Sawa. So Madam Rispa, unless there is another question, I beg to leave. I will actually exit the link, so that I'm able to go to the market, and then you are left with the
Thank you.
class.
I'll handle it from here.
All right.
Maybe as some of the things I'll answer to, someone is asking, silent song, ile ambane. Imagine we did it on Saturday. And because of that, find it online. We already did it on Saturday. So if I bring it back to the group, and Mbani is not a story that is expansive. It concentrates on a very narrow scope. Haijaenda sana, ina concentrate tu kwa some bit of it. So I'll want to tell the person about silent song. Please find it online. Haya, another idea is Truly Married Woman. I've seen it, and December. These are two people talking about Truly Married Woman and December. So because the others have not spoken, I think I take their votes that are two. And tomorrow, let's do the Truly Married Woman and December. Allow me to do them and present tomorrow. If you have a question on the same, you can share. If you don't have a question, I'll come up with mine and then I'll present it to the class.
But teacher,
please speak.
Kwani malizana na hiyo ya Mossi ya leo ama
hatujamalizana? Maswali imekuwa mingi. Hatujamalizana, please.
We will forward it to another day.
No, I'll finish until 5. After 5, in case you are not done, that is when we can push it to another day. In fact, the concerns I'm addressing them in 5.
I thought the lesson is over.
No, it is not over. It is not. In fact, I feel the one who had asked me a question, after I'm done with addressing your concerns, I was going back to that person directly. I had an answer for the person. Just bear with me, please.
Okay,
so sorry. Tomorrow we've settled for December and Truly Married Woman. The other time we shall go to Boi, because this is the second time I'm seeing Boi being proposed. So tomorrow is Wednesday, Truly Married Woman. Boi, let's do it on Thursday. And whichever other one you'll choose for Thursday, please. I hope I'll be seeing you in the meeting starting tomorrow. Another thing is I've also seen ghosts being proposed like twice, but I try to combine a simple story and one that is detailed. So I'll see Boi, what can I combine it with? Okay, Blessed, excuse me, teacher, could you go on? Blessed, go on. Okay, she has written, excuse me. I was giving her the attention so that you can continue. Anyway, you'll still chat me. I'm still online. Now, I feel like at some point we have lost track, because even some few people have already exited, because maybe we are diverting from the discussion of today. And I had intended we do 2 essays, but from the look of things, we will only manage one of the questions. But as I'm managing that question, I want to do it very well. Talking money, please let it go. Talking money was already tested. It can never come back. Talking money was already tested in 2024. It will no longer be tested. This, in English, we don't have a tendency of repeating a story. We don't. Kiswahili, they might repeat the same story. English, we don't. Once it is tested, allow us not to deal with that, please. Okay, there's someone who asked me before we went to a lot of discussion that was not in line with our essay for today. Someone asked, and I want to make reference to that. Teacher, can we do this? This is the question, and for the benefit of all of us, I want you to listen. Teacher was asking if I can take the buying of newspapers as a point alone and build a paragraph on it. And my answer is, when I saw this chart, there's something that clicked in my mind. I don't know whether I'm right. I don't know whether I thought when I was explaining the interpretation of the question, was I explaining it to myself? Because we already said Mossi is involved in one way or another. Understand, please, all of us, let's listen, and then you'll be able to understand the approach you're taking. When you say that Mossi is involved in one way or another, we want to look at Mossi as the perpetrator, one point on its own. And the other points to come from what other people are aided by Mossi. There still has to be the link to Mossi. Because Mossi is the overall leader of Maracas municipality. So whichever act of corruption you touch on, make sure there's a link to Mossi. Another way of answering that question. If you could just take that point on newspaper, kwani how much detail has been given about the acquiring of newspaper, that one will simply give you a thing. If you're honest with each other. Mossi is also another person. Let me try put it in wordings. I'll say, Mossi is another person who enhances corruption. He buys all the newspapers. He buys all the newspapers using public funds. Because he bought all the newspapers using public funds, we conclude that he is corrupt and aiding corruption. That is thin. I'll give you one. Over here, there's something I've always tried to show you about paper 2. Question 2, not paper 2, question 2. We want you to engage the details of the book to an extent that at the end of it, it is beyond a reasonable doubt. If you just pick Mossi on the procuring of the newspapers, whether it was one newspaper or whatever, but public funds, and then you call it a point that is worth 3, I doubt you will go beyond 1. So even if you pick another point, Mossi is corrupt, he says that he eats 3 slices of bread, and then you expect that one. So that one will tell you. Yes, Lani says, so teacher, you give a corrupt deed of a leader and join it to Mossi. You're right, join it to Mossi. In other words, how does Mossi enhance it? Anaikubali aje iendelee? Ni nini Mossi anafanya that ensures huyu mtu anaendelea na corruption? And I explained by saying, number 1, he is aware of this information. He doesn't do anything about it. Number 2, some of the characters, he looks like he's afraid of them. Number 3, he is resigned. Resigned like, hey, Mungu wasaidie. I'm not the one to put a stop to it. Number 4, Mossi has refused to allow these people to be prosecuted. There's a time Nicole is asking him, and all these points, you people, if you understood my question, the argument was supposed to come from his conversation with Madam Nicole. At that point is where Madam Nicole keeps spinning him down, asking him, the buck stops with you. You mean you had all this information? And why, then this is why don't you allow the information to find itself, to land in the Samaritan? He says, are you now telling me this one is a political weapon that has been set against me? So I hope you are seeing, to connect Mossi in one way or another. And if you allow me to go to point number 2, I'll be able to link Mossi, and that will make point number 3, point number 4 flow very easily. Another concern, someone says, teacher, let's do checkmate. We did it on Saturday. I wish you could be attending all our classes. And fortunately for us, it is already online. Checkmate, Talking Money we've done. Checkmate, find it online. Now, can I continue? Can I continue? I wanted to go to point number 2. You see how I will bring about a link to Mossi. Point number 2, you see how I'll bring about a link to Mossi. Okay, point number 2, I'll say, a topic sentence, the one that carries the answer. We are looking at corruption in the municipality. And you people, you should have agreed with me. Corruption is not only perpetrated by Mossi. Si yeye peke anaendeleza corruption. That one you agree. But then in one way or another, even when he doesn't have anything to do with the roads, in a way, he allows it to continue. Therefore, in one way or another, he blesses the corruption to continue. So point number 2, I'll pick on Jaden and listen to my flow of ideas. I'll pick on Jaden and then I'll say, Jaden is another character propagating the acts of corruption, and he has been aided by Mossi. Already I've given a link. Jaden is corrupt and he's being aided by Mossi. Now allow me. How is Jaden being aided by Mossi? Jaden is being aided by Mossi when Mossi is, okay, that one didn't happen, but it was suggested to happen. But let me go to the one that is very clear to the knowledge of all of us. Mossi says, we want to see Mossi clearly at the center of this corrupt act. Ivy approached him, and then he gave Ivy the contract to go and exterminate the rodents. And Mossi clearly tells us, I helped you because you were, I don't know, he used the word lady or whichever word he used. You are the lady of Jaden. In other words, what is he doing? This guy is practicing nepotism. If he is practicing nepotism, he is the one who is responsible for putting Jaden and Ivy at the center of being able to enhance the rodent gate scandal. I hope you've seen the connection. After the connection, you go ahead and say, what did Jaden and Ivy do with this corruption? If you leave out the details, your point is not conclusive. Your point is thin. Your point is hanging. Now you go ahead and explain this act of corruption from, but already you've made a link to Mossi. Okay, someone says, I pardon. I go back to that. Point number 2, we are talking about Jaden. Jaden and his act of corruption. Which act of corruption are we aware of that touches on Jaden? It is the rodent gate scandal. Now, this rodent gate scandal, how can we say it had the blessings of Mossi? That is a question, and then I go ahead and answer. The rodent gate scandal was enabled because Mossi gave Ivy the contract to exterminate rodents. And the reason he did it, he was being swayed by nepotism. He's corrupt. Mossi is corrupt in a way that he practices nepotism. Because of his nepotism, he aids Jaden. It might be unknowingly. He might just have been saying, let me help my friend. But even when you're helping your friend, because they are a girlfriend to your friend, that one is already an act of corruption. And then after that, the one who asked the question, we now put our focus into the details of the rodent gate scandal. They were rearing rats, releasing them into the population, killing a few of them, parading for all to see. Then they would reintroduce the other. And then their end game was to undermine local production. In other words, the crops of the other farmers won't thrive. And at that point, they will swoop in and then sell to them their imported grains. That is how Mossi is connected to that. And even as you're continuing to bring out the corruption of Jaden, you people, I don't know whether you understood, we are picking on a character the corruption majorly focuses on that character. But then at some point, this one can even be a single sentence tying it to Mossi. And I think I've been able to very well relate Jaden to Mossi, therefore enhancing that rodent gate affair. And another way we can still put Mossi at the center of this. When Nicole is asking him, that means he has failed. When he does not call them to account, he has failed in discharging his duties. Those were the words of Nicole. Kama mtu ameiba, tunakulaumu wewe, we are blaming you. He has failed in his duty for not having these people prosecuted with all the information he is sitting on. At that point, I think I've run out of words to further explain that. So maybe someone can just chat me on the section, in the chat section. Maybe in your own words, can you tell your classmates, or even when someone says, I've understood, even when someone asks a question on the same thing I've presented, it is still a reaction. The connection to Mossi can be done even in a single statement. In mine, I've tried to connect it to Mossi in two ways. Number one, Mossi is reluctant to see them getting prosecuted. The second link, Mossi is the one who gave Ivy that job. So she was comfortably rearing them and killing them, because after all, she has the contract of exterminating them. Any reaction? Let me see. There's a reaction. I didn't know a single statement is good enough sometimes. Doreen, I hope you're not talking about illustrations, because illustration, one like that, a single statement, I hope you are not talking about the illustration. I'm talking about, back to the question, I feel like this question, people have not understood, or maybe they've refused to understand. Mossi is directly to blame for the corruption. Now the center of the argument is the corruption. But then each corruption has to be linked to Mossi. So over here, as a way of emphasis, I think I'll still say, even a single statement, as long as you have linked that corruption to Mossi. If you can give more than one statement, the test today is on corruption. And most of the details will be carried by corruption. But then as you are giving your details, consciously at the back of your mind, always link the action to Mossi. Another reaction? Another reaction, because I've already contended to the fact that I'm not going to discuss more than one question. With the time that is remaining, we can only do one question. Okay, let's also see. Let me see. Another reaction. Yes, Neema. My answer to yours will just be yes. Whatever you said, yes. We give illustration based on a specific leader, then we link it to Mossi. That was the test. We talked about corruption in the municipality. And I've said over and over, it is not only Mossi who is a perpetrator of corruption. Even there's a time he was telling Nicole, I'm suffering for the sins of other people. In other words, these people are they're making me look bad. They are the worst. Even when he was comparing with the bread, he says, these other people are eating the vendor. Apart from the vendor, they are eating the wrappings. Alikuwa anasema nini? Hao ndo wale wabaya. But then, they are using me like their ladder. They are using me as their ladder. That is the test in this question. They are using Mossi as the ladder to get to corruption. And because Mossi cannot call them to account, that is how he is aiding the corruption. Another one says, another question is, the question is pointing at Mossi. So you have to give your topic sentence in such a way that is showing Mossi is engaged in it, and that is how I've understood. You've understood it very well, Galaxy. Like my second one, skiza too, even without sharing my screen, I'll share because I'm also getting it from the same document. My first one says, to begin with, Mossi himself is corrupt. That one, it is he himself Point number 2, I'm saying we're just on the topic sentence. Secondly, Mossi aids Jaden in propagating acts of corruption. Tumeelewana. Point number 3, I'm saying, thirdly, Mossi helps Ted to ascend to power by providing him with campaign money. Just the link to Mossi is good enough. Number 4, I'm saying, another corrupt leader who thrives under Mossi's reign. You see my flow of thoughts? Every point I'm giving, I'm very conscious to tie it to Mossi. Even if maybe the topic sentence did not capture all that, pale chini nikimalizia, I consciously end it by saying, Mossi does not call them to account. Therefore, hapo mwisho, there's a paragraph that I'll give and say at the end of it. This indicates that Mossi is not willing to allow corruption to come to light. He doesn't want corruption to be exposed. Therefore, he is aiding corruption. Nataka ukuwe mjanja. When you're coming up with a point, that is why we are judging the whole paragraph. You pick on a right thing. Maybe your topic sentence and mine might be different, but someone said it very well at the beginning of my lesson. This one should be done in the topic sentence, whereby each character is tied to Mossi. I hope I've been able to answer that one. Then I move on to the next question that is asking. When Nicole asks him why he dies, why he does not take the leaders to account, how does he respond to show that he is connected to corruption? Let me give you an example. There's a place he says Simo he's been given money to look the other way to look the other way in terms of buildings that are not substandard. Then Nicole asks him, and also that one you can go back and read, and maybe it will give more detail about what I'm saying. When Nicole asks him, what shows that he is complicit to corruption? I'm answering a question from Gloria. Response to show how he is connected to corruption. The connection is he is not willing to put them to account. And if you could take your reading back to that specific scenario, it is not once that Nicole has asked him. Nicole has asked him, I think, 4 different times. And how does he react to it? That shows he is complicit, he is aware. There's a time Nicole asks him, you have all this information, why don't you share it with the Samaritan? There's a time Nicole tells him, the buck stops with you. And another time, his reaction, even without the words, the guy says, the guy displays fear. Fear number 1, towards who? Towards Ted. When he's told, why don't you call Ted to account? He says, that guy, that I call him the bat, he only operates in dark places. I cannot touch him even with a 10-foot pole. Hiyo ni mtu ashakuambia, this guy, I cannot call him to account. I cannot touch him. You're a student of literature, understand literature. I cannot touch this guy even with a 10-foot pole. Let's go back to Simon. Another example, because I'm answering to this question. At another point, Simon, when he is being asked why he cannot put Simon to account, what does he say? Shh. Do you know how dangerous that guy is? He is involved with the black swan that is in charge of making people to disappear. And at this point, we see that this guy is aware of what Simon is doing, but then he's keeping quiet. I don't know if there is a proverb to that. The one who keeps quiet when wrong is being done, you are equally guilty. If you keep quiet about it, you are equally guilty of the offense. I hope I've been able to answer Gloria, citing examples specifically to do with Ted. Another example to do with Simon. Another one asks. But if we are to build on Neema's point, which is fantastic, how will you write the topic sentence? Itakuwa different from yours. Let me tell you, a topic sentence can never be cast on stone. I've paused. Nimenyamaza kidogo, and then I'll go back. Topic sentence is never cast on stone. Meaning what? Meaning that yangu na yako, even mine, if you give me that exam to write it today, Tomorrow you give me the same exam to write it today. My word for word, yet it is the same person writing. Has it a fanana? And I'll still make reference to what Neema has said, and then I see whether I'm replying to the right thing. Topic sentence ni nini? As much as the best topic sentence was the one that ties Mossi, but even the one identifying the right characters engaged in corruption, imagine what? You will still score. Imagine what? You will still score. The person who says, to begin with, is Jaden, who is engaging in corruption thanks to Mossi. Amesema tu hivyo. Topic sentence identifying the correct point that answers the concerns of the question. Imagine umepata. Now let me take my 1 minute so that I don't look ignorant. I go back to what has Neema said. I'm going back, and Neema says, so teacher, we give illustration based on the specific leader, then we link it to Mossi. Unaona? The same thing I've answered. Our topic sentences will be very different, but has the topic sentence touched on the needs of the question? Has it been able to identify the right people? Because kuna mtu ataniambia, another one is Basdeo. Just by reading another one is Basdeo, I will not continue reading the rest of that paragraph. That one already, for the ones who are marking paper 3, your first sentence tells me whether it is a hit or it is a miss. So Neema and myself might put the wordings differently, but at the end of the day, if the topic says, I want you to redeem yourself. Maybe umetaja in a very shallow way, but have you touched on my marking scheme? I give you a tick, 1 mark only. For you to gain the second and the third, I want that argument to move forward. And when that argument advances, at the end of it, hata ukitumia mpaka clincher, maybe what you have not been able to achieve in the topic center, in the topic sentence, you've been able to redeem yourself at the clincher level. At the same time, your illustrations were sufficient. What will make me deny you 3? This English is not like this literature is not like a science whereby there's a specific formula. You do this one cancels with that one, and then you follow this. In that argument, that is why even before I can award you, I'll have to read your whole paragraph to the end. That is when I can judge it as a thin, fair, or full. I'll have to read your argument up to the end. So if your topic sentence is not enough, know how you will maneuver your way, and at the end of it, redeem yourself. At the end of it, you get it. And as I'm concluding on the same, topic sentence is not cast on stone. Our wordings will differ, but what will make you score or miss? If your point touches on my marking scheme, you get your first initial mark. You get your first initial mark. And I'm sure the people online, not all of us are endowed at the same level. There's someone who's very good at chemistry. Now there's some of you who their best subject where you shine is within literature. That person, when you're marking that KCSE, we're also trying to accommodate them. Therefore, even KCSE makes it easier, but let's do it the hard way. Making it, when you're used to sweating for something, when it is made easier, you excel even more. That will be my way of saying it. Any other concern? But the points I've discussed, if I could just preempt, I'm looking at time, inatukimbisha. And whenever I say that time is not on our side, I do not mean that you do not ask a question. Please, I do not mean that. So, which are my points? Number 1, you're looking at Mossi aiding Jaden. Was I able to make the link? Mossi himself being corrupt, that one I've explained. Another one I'll speak about is Ramdae. Another one will be Ted. Another one that is not in my discussion, but then it will still meet the requirements of the question, should be Bembe. These people are surviving because of Mossi, who has failed in his duty, who chooses to look the other way when corruption is happening. Let me go to Ted and then say, but if I see your concern, I'll react. Aswan, expound on your excuse.
Yeah, I was asking, if you say the link is on Mossi, yes? if you say the link is on Mossi, and you say the corruption is based on the Mossi, does all the members of municipality leaders corruptions based on Mossi zina relate na Mossi? Au watu wote wamefanya corruption wana relate na Mossi?
Nikuulize Aswan swali moja. Have you been online throughout the discussion? Have you been online throughout the discussion, or are you leaving and coming back?
Yeah, I was.
No, I'm not angry or anything, because haven't I said at any point the buck stops with him? And then I went ahead and said, how does the buck stop with him? This one I've said in the lesson very many times. I said, how does he aid them? Number one, being aware of the information and doing nothing about it. Cindy, one. Are we in agreement up to then? As one? Keeping quiet about their corruption. What are you? You are aiding. Number two, we were looking at the fact that he is not ready to allow the Samaritan to unleash the wrath on these people. There's a time Teacher Nicole is asking him, why? Then this one, because you're saying it is not your fault, then this one, the Samaritan, I'm now trying to paraphrase because I do not have the page. I've not opened the page where they say exactly that, but now that you keep going back to that, I think I'll try to find my page. When I read it, it comes out better. So in my own words, as I'm still finding, no, usione vibaya, teacher sasa sitauliza, please ask until you get it. It's okay. So amekataa kuongea, anajua information, because there's a point Nicole is asking him. With all this information, in other words, she is also faulting Mossi, sindio? Anamtoa makosa. You have this information, no menyamaza. That is one way. Another way, Nicole tells him, Mossi unaniambia Ted, unaniambia Simo, bado ni wewe. What shows? Nicole tells this guy, the buck stops with you. Those are the words of John Lara. The buck stops with you. In other words, it is Simo who has done it. But you know what? I'm blaming you, Mossi. Number three, why are you reluctant to let these people face prosecution? Still, I'm paraphrasing, but that is what Nicole asked him. And at a certain point, he becomes resigned. Resigned is like, there's nothing I can do about it. There's nothing I can do about it. That is becoming resigned. Another way that makes him complicit ni anashirikiana, is the fact that he is resigned as well as fearful. I give the example of this guy by the name of Simon. When he is asked why he cannot put Simon to account, he says, shh, and in fact, I wish I could find it sooner other than later. When he is asked about that guy, he says, shh, that guy is very dangerous. What is the guy telling Nicole? He's telling Nicole, it's like, I can't deal with that guy. That guy is very dangerous. At the same time, Nicole is putting him to account and telling him, does that mean you have failed in your duty? I think it was after he had brought about the point to do with Jaden. He was told, "Hi, we are blaming you. You are the one who has failed in their duty." And I think I'm about to find the page. It should be somewhere around the 60s. I just want to find one illustration. Just 1 minute. Please, the rest of us, can we just contend with it? I can give my illustration based on page 65. If anyone has a book, let's take it to page 65. And on page 65, if you understand that Mossi, in a way or another, he aids them by keeping quiet, by not calling them to account, then you go to the reading the words of John Lara. Nicole speaking for the last time, page 65. What does she say? She says, you can't wish death upon another person. Then you continue. But why can't you call them to order and rebuke them when they do wrong? In other words, what is Nicole doing? She's blaming him. They're doing wrong, and you're not calling them to account. So, Aswan, so far, have I made sense?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
I hope. Welcome. I'm not saying you don't answer
Okay.
your question. You don't ask your
Okay.
questions.
Yeah,
When you
thank
people ask, you're also making me sharper. Even someone had already helped me. Sorry, I was not looking at my screen. Someone has helped me, telling me it can be found on page 66. Thank you. Allow me 2 more points and let you be online today. And people have suggested to me, teacher, kwa hivyo, your topic sentence should tie it to Mossi. So I'll take my 10 minutes, make the topic sentence very clear, and then my document will be shared. It will be a very good document. If you still have concerns, we can still meet each other in tomorrow's lesson. Another point is on Ted. He is being aided by Mossi to commit the acts of corruption. And then you go and mention the acts of corruption. He has eaten a whole hospital. In fact, he tells this one to Nicole, meaning you are aware of the information. He's the one who's telling Nicole the information. And he even has details of the information that Ted has eaten a whole hospital. And Nicole asks him, when I was looking for that point, I was able to also read that one. Nicole asks him, how? He goes ahead to give the narrative about the tenders were given to his family, they ended up a cowshed and all that. I'm just editing some words because I know it is a story that you know. And another thing, also if you could look at Ted corruption, aided by Mossi, we can take another angle of it and look at. Mossi tells them, a number of times you have forced my hand. You have made me to misallocate funds, but not this time. What is Mossi admitting? He is admitting he has aided these people in performing corruption, acts of corruption. Because how are they forcing his hand to misallocate the funds? If you could come up with such an argument, you will be confident enough to have connected Ted to Mossi. Allow me to further connect Ted to Mossi. Mossi is the one who has given Ted campaign money. If you're reading the same book, it is Mossi who has given Ted the campaign money. Later on, in other words, what are you saying? Ni wewe ulituletea huyu mtu. You gave him money as much as his attire. His outlook attracted the youth. We still see he had campaign money to dish out. Thanks to who? To Mossi. Another thing I've said is Mossi is privy to that information that this guy has eaten a whole hospital. Another thing we see that he tells Simo and he tells these municipal leaders, many are the times you have forced my hand to approve. Later on, how does he aid it? By refusing to put Ted to account. He says, I cannot touch this guy, even with a 10-foot pole. That one is just Mossi. In his own way, he is afraid of these people. So he thinks he can go and manipulate Nicole. Now Nicole will be standing on his side. If it is in case of a boxing match, and you know a boxing match in literature, we are simply meaning something like a battle, something like a war. He's trying to make Nicole to come to his side in case he has to face off with his enemies. I hope I've been able to link Ted. And the acts of corruption have not given too much details. Okay, where is your document posted for me to print it? We give it to members of our group. Was the link shared over here? Okay, let me give you my number. You can chat me privately. Please. Whatever the necessary, I'll attend to you. I've given you my number. Some people have even had the privilege that I'm giving them there. I'm giving it to them personally, but I want to discourage that. I want when I give it once in the group, then you're able to read on what I'm saying. My number is there. If you can't find, we shall establish where the problem is. My number is there. Allow me to almost finish the lesson. I go to another person who thrives under the leadership of Mayor Mossi. And the person is Ramdai. Another corrupt leader who thrives under Mossi's reign to propagate corruption is Ramdai. In one sentence, I've tied them together. In one sentence, I've tied Ramdai to Mossi. Another leader who thrives under Mossi's reign to enhance corruption is Deputy Mayor Ramdai. Ukiniandikia mpaka hapo nimeshakupea 1 mark. You've touched on my marking scheme. Then it begs the question, how? Mossi is fully aware of the reputation of Ramdai. It's not something he's recently found out. He says that is how the dinosaur, that old man, makes his living. He has ruined a number of lives. Just using Mossi's words. It speaks to the fact that Mossi has been aware of the activities of Ramdai, that Ramdai has ruined very many lives. Those are the words of Mossi. Ramdai has ruined very many lives because that is how he makes his living, by conning people. And the details of Ramdai's corruption, we talk about the way he prints 10 fake title deeds and he uses it to swindle 10 people. You see, Mossi seems to have been aware all the while that Ramdai had sold Bembe land that belonged to the university. Instead of Mossi taking account, what does he do? He blames it on the people who elected Ramdai. Anasema nini? He said, you cannot anticipate to elect a wholer monkey to become the librarian. And when the monkey starts to howl is to make noise, howl, when people are supposed to be reading quietly. So Mossi still does not take responsibility, and also he was complicit of what is going on. He might not have been involved, but one way or another, he is allowing it to go on. It is a character of Ramdai that has been going on for a number of years. After another thing, there's a question that someone asked me, and anytime I'm trying to consciously answer their question, someone asked me, now teacher, unamaanisha aje? What do you mean that because Ramdai did this, that Mossi is complicit? Or the person said, what does he answer to that? On this case of Ramdai, it is being said, Nicole blames him for not allowing the information to be shared to the Samaritan for such people to be made to face corruption charges. And because our today's discussion has had a number of questions, has had a number of interpretations, make use of my document, at the same time, make use of the set book. The set book will always put it even better, correct in case the teacher was taking the wrong turn. It will put your concerns to rest. It will answer your questions. Or what did Nicole say? You can still go back and read and see what Nicole said. Let's also go to corruption of Bembe, aided by Mossi. This one I want you to listen because I do not have it in my writing unless I include it later. Bembe is also another person who is participating in acts of corruption. And how will I put this topic sentence? And he has the blessing of Mossi. Can I give an example? Yes, I can. I want to call your attention to the scenario where Mossi is telling the friend, you have been accused of corruption. You know the land that you have built, Madingo, actually belongs to the university. And at that point, Bembe gets confused. He's asking, where, when? Where was the university all this time? He wants to pick his gun and he wants to go and deal with Ramdai for conning him. Now we want to see the way Mossi aids corruption. The right way was supposed to be Bembe to be called to account, return the land that belongs to the university. But then what happens? Mossi tells him, I will have the university reallocated alternative land. watapewa ingine. In a way, so he is blessing this corruption to continue. That someone is occupying public land. And you people, someone will still ask me, teacher, unajua Bembe hakujua. Eti ameuziwa the wrong one. And in the eyes of the law, ignorance is not a defense. If you have land belonging to the public, no one will say, oi, old man, I'm very sorry. You spent a lot of money. It was your retirement plan. Let you keep the land. It will not be that. The right way was supposed to be public land be returned to the university. But look at how Mossi aids the act of corruption. Mossi goes ahead and he is ready to appease the friend, make the friend happy by having the university to be the one that will be moved. University can be given another piece of land. Now, that point, maybe I had missed it. I had missed out on it because it can be found somewhere else, somewhere different from where Mossi was inciting Nicole against his friends. When he went to Nicole, he did not divulge info about Bembe. But if you're looking at the requirements of the question, is this leader corrupt? Yes. And his corruption, is it being aided by Mossi? Is it in any small way having the blessing of Mossi? And your answer will be yes. Up to there, I'm done with my points. Someone who has an addition, someone who has a query. The one who doesn't have the documents, you'll chat me privately. You'll tell me your issue. I'll try to help you. I want to welcome your concerns, your additions. There might be that point, teacher na haujaona hii. And lastly, I'll share with you my document. And because of the fact that I want to maybe make the topic sentence outright. Yani naangalia topic sentence, it answers the question. Therefore, I will delay with very few minutes. Correction here and there, and I'll send you the one that is okay. Thank you. Someone is reminding me, kindly add the point on Bembe on it. If I just write the word Bembe, I'll be able to carry it on from there. I will. I promise I will. Any other thing? Any other thing? Teacher, how is Bembe corrupt? Bembe has land that belongs to the public. That is an act of corruption. You are not, even if you, and this is what I was explaining. We know that Bembe is a municipal leader that is corrupt, but the one that you can tie to Mossi is the one that has to do with the land. And at that point, I said, ignorance is no defense. That he didn't know, it belonged to the public. Still, when he is acquiring that Madingo Golf Club, could you ask yourself, why didn't he want people to know? When the information is being, he said, how do people know it is mine? He was trying to hide it. Do you hide your property because you have acquired it the right way? You don't hide your property if you have acquired it the right way. And still, Tulania insist, how is Bembe corrupt? He has acquired public land and he is not ready to give it back. He is very comfortable when Mossi says, I will give the university alternative land. Your land is illegal, but you can keep it. They are both participants in this act of corruption. Even though we might argue, when it was being sold to him, he seems not to have known. He's asking, where, when? Where was the university all this time? You mean? I hope I've been able to answer Lani. Any other concern? Back. Another concern someone says, where can you fit in Bembe and the proceeds of bribery with his police gang? It is still corruption, but Dorina was being so careful that, the way we're approaching a question, when he took the one for Ted, we said, Mossi alituletea. Akamsaidia kuingia. And because the person is on that position, he was able to do his corruption freely. But with Ben, they have a reservation. And by reservation is, Bembe is corrupt. But then, unajua kuna zingine we were easy. It was easy for us to go ahead and pinpoint Mossi. Because na mdomo yake, Mossi was admitting to knowing. You see, when he is trying to portray them negatively to Nicole, mwenyewe anajifunga akisema nilikuwa najua. But about Bembe, this one now, the only act you can tie it to Mossi is Mossi offering him alternative land, yet this guy has a land illegally. That is what you call grabbing. Ulilipia mo kulipia, that is grabbing. Grabbing is an act of corruption. Even in the Samaritan at the beginning, they were being accused of gang warfare, of embezzlement, of land grabbing. It touches on this guy. Okay, any other? Any other? Any other question? Yes, yes.
Sir,
Go ahead.
I'm asking, during the time that Bembe arrested Nicole, see, even Mossi was included.
He was complicit to it. Whether you're adding to me a point, let me see how we can reason it out. Because corruption is doing something wrong for your own benefit. Imagine you've just made my point stronger. Thank you so much. My point stronger. Thank you so much. We want to link Bembe. Corruption in nini? The wrong thing for your own benefits. They had come to a meeting and then Bembe said, let me deal with her. He said this will be the last resort. Later on, we see that Bembe does it. And even when he's speaking to Mossi later, I went ahead and did A, B, C, D. And Mossi says, I'm privileged to the information. Najua. So we see in a way they collude and they want to accuse Nicole falsely to advance their agenda. Okay, another person has raised their hand up. Go ahead. Okay, some on the screen. Tomorrow's lesson link will be shared to those who have paid. And so your document is sent to the group that has paid for the lessons. Okay, Galaxy.
Sure.
Yes. Go ahead, please.
Sure. Why didn't Mayor Mossi not disclose the accusation for Bembe to Nicole when he was taking
It is
the
because,
other leader?
okay, it is because when he went to Nicole, he wanted to deal with his enemies. And do you see that Bembe was his ally? You can remember about the alliances. Walikosana, wakaenda side. Wakina nani walikuwa wamemkosea? Ramdae, Jaden akakataa kuparticipate. Ted, Simo, that is why he was fixing them. Not that Bembe is good, Bembe is not good. He was fixing his enemies, saving his friends at that point. Bembe was in his alliance. Upatiani watu wako. Go ahead. Still anything more?
I'm fine now.
Okay. Any other concern? I don't want to end the meeting without... Or someone said, teacher, kesho mnapatia wenye wamelipa pekee. And yes, that's what you are doing. Because also, then Madam Mata put it, and I wish she could tell you, because I'm just a guest teacher on her platform. Someone is taking the time to prepare all this, to share their hours. I wish you could just also join the group. I wish mine, I'll just make it very simple without offending. I wish you could also join the group, but on basis of humanity. In fact, so that I don't, this one I look like I'm sitting on the fence. If maybe the person might have been trying to suggest, the link we cannot give to the ones who have not paid, that one I'll say, but the document maybe out of humanity's sake, you can chat me kando. That's how I'll answer to that. Trying to be as humane as possible. And if Mossi has done corruption for his own interest, who will you link? Back to the question. Mayor Mossi is involved, he's the one to blame in one way or another. So point number 1 was about Mossi himself is corrupt. Therefore, he is to blame for the corruption in Maracas. That was the question. Corruption in Maracas. Kwa hivyo Mossi mwenyewe, if he enhances corruption, he is to blame. Si anaifanya, tutamlaumu. That is how I'll answer as one. If Mossi has done corruption for his own benefit, how will you link it? The link will not be there, but already you've mentioned Mossi. The buck stops with him. Hii corruption yote ni juu yake. So point ya kwanza centers on him. Point zingine, we always have to find a link to Mossi. I hope I've been able to answer. The fee is 300. Yes, you'll pay to Teacher Martha. If I say all the corruption in Maracas, Mossi is linked, will I be right? Almost all of them. Because kuna ile ya Basdeo, they were paid money to keep quiet. I don't know how you link Basdeo to Mossi. Almost, but not all. That will be my answer. Teacher, we've not done the conclusion. The conclusion, I thought right now we are no longer amateurs, we are experts. That was my own thinking. My document even has a conclusion. We can just summarize there. Main points, you say, the leaders in Maracas municipality are all corrupt, yet Mossi is not willing to call them to account. So in a way, we are justified to say he is responsible for the corruption going on in the municipality. Just that. And then wait for my document in 10 minutes. Any other? Any other? Any other, or should I move to end our session? We meet tomorrow.
Teacher,
Yes.
and remember to answer my question maybe tomorrow.
On
I can see
the one, good. The one on
gone.
whether he procured all the newspapers or a sample. Sindio?
Yeah,
Sio
and
ndo
even the
muuliza?
one that, and the one that I shared to you.
Oh, please. Could you do me a favor? Could you send it to my WhatsApp? Sahi tu.
Okay.
I deal with
Okay.
WhatsApp the most. I'll never forget. Please. Okay, thank you
Okay.
so much. Thank you so much for being my viewers.